Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie and I am the assigned group leader for Group 8. The other members that will be introducing themselves later on will be Lily, Sean, Harsha, and Feng. In this presentation, we'll be going over the tabletop simulations of my group and I discussed for the location in Vulcanello and the different roles that each of us have, the collaborations for each role, the obstacles that they may face, and how notions of resilience were used in each of these roles. I will also highlight some of the risks and vulnerabilities in all three inject projects, along with a resolution/solution for each. Let's get started. So starting with Inject 1, we had a seismic crisis where we have no idea which volcano may erupt. This also takes place in the beginning of June, where schools are still open, tourists are arriving for summer, and restaurants and hotels are filling up. So some of the risks and vulnerabilities that we talked about included tourist industry disruption, water supply contamination, tsunamis, pyroclastic flows, air pollution from volcanic ash. And a solution that we proposed was to have all volcanoes be actively monitored and to provide evacuation instructions distributed before the onset of an eruption. So for Inject 2, we had the scenario of ballistics, ash, and lava flow in the area due to ash brought by the wind. And Vulcanello's private waterfront properties and tourists are also threatened by lava. Some of the risks and vulnerabilities we included were respiratory problems, economic impacts, infrastructure damage, power and communication disruption, and water supply contamination. And a solution that we wanted to provide for this one was to establish an emergency response plan for everybody. And this would include evacuation procedures, communication protocols, hazard monitoring and assessment, infrastructure reinforcement, and community engagement. And finally, for the last and third inject, our scenario this time was a breaking weather forecast of the sea having rough waters for at least 24 hours. Ferries are also shut down and a limited number of private boats were available only to accommodate at maximum 20 people. And the risks and vulnerabilities for this one that we included were flooding, high winds, limited transportation options, limited resources, and landslides. The solution for this was to prioritize the use of available private boats for vulnerable groups of people, such as medical emergency cases, the elderly or disabled, and then families with young children. So to start off with the roles here, my assigned role that I chose was the healthcare personnel. So the role of the healthcare personnel is generally responsible for assessing and treating injuries, treating patients, coordinating with other healthcare providers to ensure medical attention during a volcanic eruption. And then also to make sure that everyone receives adequate medical attention during a natural disaster. They also work with emergency responders and community leaders to provide medical attention, including the affected areas, the number of people affected, the types of injuries, and resources required to provide medical assistance. And healthcare personnel, they have to communicate with other stakeholders to ensure that resources are distributed efficiently and that critical cases are prioritized. The healthcare personnel are also resilient during a volcanic eruption scenario by adapting quickly to changing circumstances, leveraging available resources, and effectively communicating with other stakeholders. So in the next slide, Harsha will be going over his role of what the transportation personnel does and the basic responsibilities of his assigned role.